What's up, my fellow educators? Today, I decided to switch it up this week, and probably just gonna be this way going forward. I'm deciding to do, before I was doing Teaching Tuesday, now I'm gonna be doing Teaching Thursday, where I'm gonna show you some lesson planning things, and how you can kind of plan a lesson based off some of the things that I've done in the classroom, either that week or in previous weeks, and which was successful, or which are successful ways of doing things. All right. The concept I'm going to be covering today is main idea. Now it's central idea. In Texas, they're calling it the central idea, which is basically the same thing. It's one of the most toughest concepts to teach. I almost aching it to teach in measurement and math. Very tough concept. Even I hate teaching it at times. But there's definitely some goals this week, and I've really been working on making sure to hit this concept home. So I'll start, as I always start, with the TEAK and what the progression supposedly is going to look like when you're teaching central idea or main idea. So the learning intention is I will recognize the central idea with support and evidence. Of course, when you have a central idea or main idea, you need to have evidence. So it will start off with, I can identify key details. I wasn't able to do that this week because we had, the first day was teacher development. So I went on and skipped ahead to the part where you summarize or you just look for the main idea. I would identify the central idea in the text. And I didn't do the sorting part just because it was a truncated week. That's normally just to reinforce. So I went all the way to where you can find the central idea using the title, headings, and subheadings. So that'll be the application stage, which is I've taken you out through identify or knowledge comprehension. So today I'm working to teach you a lesson that can be at the application stage. So, all right, so this is how I start this off. First, you start with a type of anchor chart. First, you teach kids, this is what a heading is. Because the most important thing with main idea, most of the time they're gonna break it into sections on these state tests. And you know the main idea of a section or 2 paragraphs, but then most of the time I won't ask them the main idea of a whole passage. But they need to know these little parts so they can sit there and make the main idea of the whole thing and comprehend it. Because I do consider main idea basically the plot of nonfiction text. So you teach them what a heading is, then what a subheading is. Then after that, after you kind of address that and let them know what that is, my school uses Savvas. That's one of the resources that we have available to us. So what I did is I decided to use this particular story, which is about Frederick Douglass, and I broke it into chunks. So the first chunk was a I do or a model I walked through with the kids. And all they really had to do was identify the heading, which was spreading the message. And then they had to go through and with me, and we would go write the section title, Joining the Movement. We read that. Then we'll read Speaking Out. That's a section. Sharing the Story. That's a section. Traveling Abroad. That's a section. And Finally Free. That's a section. All right. So it wasn't just about them getting the section. I kind of wanted them just to be able to identify that. They were third graders, so you kind of have to level set it for them. All right. So this is what the question would look like. Spreading the message, this would be the I do. Of those that need all of that, I can easily just say the I do here. So you have the 5 sections. Then you ask, why do you think Douglass joined the movement? And this is where the kids had some pretty cool responses. You know, there's like, oh, he wanted to end slavery. The kids can act just based off, you would know if they comprehended the text. All right, after that, I had the kids read the section, the abolitionist movement, and read about all the key abolitionists for the We Do. And then after they read that, they filled out the sections. And then I asked them, who do you think is the most important person and why? So they get to determine who they think the most important person is. Many of them say Harriet Tubman, but I think that was kind of obvious that that would be the answer. These are mostly African-American children. And then I had them read the final section, a national leader, which had multiple sections. And also things like spectacular speech and a timeline is lumped in there. It looks a little different than the regular book. So they finished reading all the sections. Many of them finished this part of it early for their You Do or their independent practice. And then you have a national leader, different section. And I asked them, how does the timeline embedding those text features questions, how does the timeline help you understand his life? And then there was some pretty good responses here. But I still want to work with them more on text features, but I kind of wanted to kind of give them a heat check to see where they were there. So this is a lesson using headings and subheadings. All right, so I wanted to give some sample student responses. So this is one of my students, and I did this through Google Classroom. He said because his first answer was because he thought slavery should end, and then who you think is the most important person and why? Harriet, because I think she did most of the work to set slaves free. She was about the only person who got the most damage to her body, and she still got over 300 slaves for free. And then how does the timeline help you understand it's like it helps you understand you're never too old to follow your dreams, that you should never give up. And it kind of helped her have a theme. Now, different kids might have different feelings, but that's good in a biography that kids develop themes from this person's life, especially from reading the timeline. All right. And then main idea application again, student sample here. So he could get his freedom and face his fear, and he wanted to end slavery. So that's good. She was able to synthesize all that information. And then who do you think is the most important person? Why? Again, Harriet Tubman. She rescued over 300 slaves. She sacrificed her life to help others. And then a national leader. How does the timeline help you understand his life? It tells me how many great things he did in his life. It shows you what things he did. Perfect response. I mean, literally, that's probably the answer on the test. All right. So this is me kind of explaining main idea and applying that skill, because it isn't just about what's the main idea of the text. You want to be able to synthesize the information, make inferences, come up with their own thoughts after reading. The main idea is essentially being able to comprehend the text, and they have to be able to show that in multiple ways. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed this lesson. And next week, my hope is to teach y'all about targeted guided reading. Something guided reading is nothing new, but I have a structure that I'll start to use that helps kids grow. I want to thank y'all for listening. As always, be phenomenal.